CherryandStonePublishing.com presents an excerpt from Danthology 2022. Written by Dan Kirstein. Read by me, Dan Kirstein. The Last Quiet Afternoon. A man sat on Jack's living room love seat. A man that had not been there a split second before. One that had not knocked or politely entered, and one that Jack did not know. He'd appeared so quietly and softly that Jack's dog, Corky, hadn't noticed and continued sleeping. The man was so quiet and blended in so well with the furniture that it took Jack 2 glances before noticing him. "Jesus Christ!" Jack shouted, startled. A sloppily crafted peanut butter and jelly sandwich plummeted from Jack's hands, splatting onto the tile. This managed to wake Corky from his slumber and was immediately attended to, though the dog did not pay the man any mind. Despite the dog's indifference, Jack recovered a knife from the kitchen drawer, but the man did not seem to care. In fact, he seemed bored. He wore a black suit with a black shirt and tie, and he typed into a black laptop that rested on his crossed legs. Happens every time. The man didn't look up from his laptop, carefully and speedily typing away as he spoke. "Try to relax, Mr. Morris. I'm not a burglar." The knife had been lowered, seemingly losing its urgency as Jack slowly made his way into his living room. "Who are you?" "Think of me as a driver, Mr. Morris. It's time for you to leave," the man responded, in a tone that conveyed a routine repeated ad nauseum. How do you know my name?" Jack watched Corky finish the last piece of the sandwich from the floor before a more immediate thought occurred to him. "Wait, where are we going?" The man smiled, wagging an index finger in the air while still not looking up from the screen. "That's the real question, isn't it? That's what everyone wants to know. Well, lucky you. You get to find out shortly." Typing filled the silence as Jack put the pieces together in his mind. He nervously made his way to the couch across from the man, still unable to let go of the knife as he sat. When all the pieces of the puzzle fit, the color drained from Jack's face. "Your death," the man shrugged. "That's like if I called you Global Soft." "Oh," Jack said grimly as he stared at his carpet. The 2 men said nothing for some time as Corky was heard licking the kitchen floor. Jack shifted to look at him. "Can I make a call first?" The man shook his head, having been asked this question several times. "Nope, that's not how this works." Jack's eyes darted. "What?" The man finally looked up from his laptop at the guy who argued with the laws of nature. The sound of typing came to a jarring stop. What? Has anyone ever called you saying, 'Hey, death is here, and I'm just calling to say goodbye'?" "Well, no, but that's because we're professionals, Mr. Morris. Life has its rules, so do we, and we've gotten along just fine together, thank you very much." "You're going to kill me?" "No, a brain aneurysm is going to kill you." "Well, what happens to him?" Jack pointed to Corky, who was now lapping water from his bowl. The man blinked and looked away. He was silent for some time before he returned to his work with a furrowed brow. Jack put the answer together for himself. "You son of a bitch!" Jack heard the familiar sound of his printer, which, last he looked, was out of ink, as it churned out a piece of paper. The man placed his laptop aside, stood up, and retrieved the paper. "Look, man, I just work here, okay?" he said, holding up the paper with one hand and counting fingers with the other. "I don't make the rules, I don't work the door, and I can't change shit, okay?" Jack was silent. The man took the silence to mean compliance and read the paper. "It's good news, by the way." "I don't give a shit!" The man scowled as if scolding a child. "Stop it, of course you do. You're gonna kill my dog, man." "I just said—" The man fumed, pausing a moment to look at the door. "Are you gonna come quietly, or do we have to do this the hard way?" Jack contemplated his choices. He didn't know what the hard way entailed, but he did consider fighting just for the sake of it. Still, the man terrified him, though he wouldn't admit such things. Okay. He didn't know why he was compelled to do so, but he looked behind him, only to see his body fall in the kitchen. He heard Corky bark before running over to sniff Jack's lifeless body. The dog sniffed and pushed and barked endlessly, tirelessly trying to get his master to his feet. "Come on," said the man. "You don't need to see this part." Jack's face was red. His fist was held to his open mouth as tears streamed down his face. He felt the man's arm around his shoulder as they walked to the door. He muttered inaudibly between sobs and waited for the man to open the door to leave. He didn't know what to expect, though it was no different from any other day when the door had opened. The only difference was the black car that sat in the driveway. The man led Jack out of his doorway and reached behind him to close the door. He paused as he held the knob, letting Jack walk ahead for some time. A dread sat on the man's heart, a dread that had been there for centuries, one that slipped the knob from his fingers, and one that brought him to terms with explaining to his superiors that he had simply forgotten to close the door behind him. This has been an excerpt from Danthology 2022. Copyright 2022. For more by Dan Kirstein, visit cherryandstonepublishing.com.